Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today's Monday, August 4th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Republicans in Texas are hot as hell with Democrats as 51 flee Texas to stop them from voting on racist gerrymandered maps that will destroy black and brown representation in Texas. We'll talk to several state representatives. We'll talk to Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. This is a massive attack on Black America. Let's be real clear. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul says she is sick and tired of Republicans doing this, and she will work to expand districts in New York for Democrats. Same with Governor Jay Pritzker in Illinois. Same thing is happening in California. We're going to see the same thing potentially in Virginia and Maryland. This is a gerrymandering battle in order to stop Republicans from their racist attacks on African Americans and Latinos. Also on today's show, we'll talk with Jay Jones, who wants to become the next Attorney General of Virginia. He'll be on the show. We'll break down with Morgan Harper the brutal job stats that led Donald Trump to fire the commissioner over that department. It's amazing. He was loving the job stats 2 months ago. Now he doesn't like them because they show that his tariffs are destroying the economy. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, don't y'all know a hit dog will holler? Well, that's Texas Republicans, as the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, is angry, upset, saying he is going to go after Democrats, jail them, fine them, try to kick them out of office because 51 Democrats have fled the state, went to Illinois, because that keeps the Republicans from having a quorum in the House and stopping them from passing racist gerrymandered maps. Now remember, Donald Trump told Texas, I need 5 seats. Go get me 5 seats. So as a result, they said, okay, we're going to redraw congressional maps in the middle of the decade. Now, normally this happens once every 10 years. Now, they drew the maps in 2021. They were Republican maps in 2021. They then said, oh no, race had no factor in any of this. Race had nothing to do with the maps that we drew. Donald Trump then has his Department of Justice send a BS letter claiming that these are unconstitutional racist maps. So Texas goes, okay, that's the justification for Greg Abbott calling a special session in order to change the maps. But here's the problem, y'all. See, political gerrymandering, Supreme Court says that's allowed. States have jurisdiction. Now, the state Supreme Courts can overrule political gerrymandering. But racist gerrymandering, that's still against the federal law. And the Supreme Court has actually ruled against racist gerrymandering. So Texas goes, okay, hold up. We need to switch this thing up. So, no. So we're not redrawing maps because of the letter from the DOJ. We're redrawing the maps to gain political power. That's partisan gerrymandering. But you're actually doing it because the pretext was the letter from the DOJ, and then they didn't even want to call in the DOJ folks to come and explain why they called it unconstitutional. In fact, just last month, Texas was actually defending the maps in court, saying they weren't based upon race. Here's Greg Abbott on Fox News.
Abbott joins us now. Thank you so much. Can you tell us from your perspective, what is the issue? Why did they leave?
So they're leaving, and they've left because they're very un-Texan. Texans don't run from a fight. And there's a fight going on in the legislature right now about redistricting as well as other things. But I'll make two quick points, Dana, about this. For one, to run to states like New York and Illinois to protest redistricting is kind of like running to Wisconsin to protest cheese. It's just kind of outrageous. Those are New York and Illinois are two hallmark states. They've already done redistricting to eliminate Republicans. But the second thing is far more serious, and that is what these Democrats have done. Just a small fraction of them were needed to break a quorum, and that small fraction is holding hostage legislation in the state of Texas where we will be able to provide assistance and reform for all of the victims of that horrific flooding that we've had in the state of Texas. Our fellow Texans are being let down and not getting the flood relief they need because these Democrats have absconded from the responsibility, and I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
Governor.
So they left, and you're saying Texans are not getting the flood relief they deserve. 130 people died as a result of floods. So please explain to me, Greg, why did you make redistricting, racist redistricting, the priority and not flood relief? Do y'all see how the story just got... Let's switch it. One of the state reps joins us right now, Charlene Johnson, along with Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Representative Johnson, I want to start with you. Let's just be abundantly clear with here. You don't have to say it, I will. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is full of shit. That's what he is, okay? The Republicans are doing this because Donald Trump ordered them to. And if Greg Abbott had any guts, if Greg Abbott had a spine, he would have told Trump, hey, you my man, but go sit your ass down. We drew the maps. Race wasn't a factor, so we're going to reject your argument with this DOJ letter. Everything you're seeing, the pretext of this was the letter. But here's what's so stupid, Representative Johnson. If they just never sent the letter and just did it for political reasons, it would make sense. But they are specifically targeting 4 black members of Congress and Latino. These are racist maps with racist intent, and what they don't want, that's why I wore the Color of Change shirt, voting while black.
Right. You're exactly right, Roland Martin. Thank you for having me on. And the seats that they picked out, they were not just picked out randomly. They were picked out on purpose because those 4 seats represent minority districts, but they also represent people who have spoken out against Trump. Al Green always calls out Trump. Mark Vesey, Sylvia Garcia, these are Democratic seats that they went after. So you mean to tell me that these are the only seats that you could pick out? As diverse as Texas is, we need to have more representation of color in D.C. So what this is, Greg Abbott calling us, that we left our jobs. We were the ones who were fighting for the flood, the flood issue, the flood bills. He didn't bring this up until after we left. His priority was to do this map. We've been down there 2 weeks, and we have not discussed maps on that House floor. We've only had the hearings for the maps, that they wouldn't even show the maps to the people who were coming until after they had a public hearing. Now, how shady is that?
Right. So they wouldn't show the maps. And again, now they're trying to sit here and flip it. Y'all get the video ready of the leader of the committee who was trying to say, oh, no, this is about, Trump won these districts, and this is about the map according to how he won, and we should be rewarding the folks. That's not it. We should be rewarding the folks. He should be rewarding that. No, what you're doing is you're screwing the people, because 61% of Texas is minority, yet 61% of the folks who vote are white. And what the Republicans in Texas want, they want more white Republican representation in Congress. They do not want to see people of color represented in Congress.
Exactly. Trump is afraid of the blue wave in 2026. So he wants to try to cheat his way to not lose his power in the House by asking Texas to give him more seats. Now, he's just going to come and ask for it. Instead of Governor Abbott saying, no, we need to focus on the families who had lost loved ones in the flooding. No, he bowed down to Trump, and he just handed us over to him. So don't say that we didn't do our job when he failed to do his job to protect Texas from President Trump.
Cliff, I want to bring you in here, and I need people to understand, Cliff, this is a direct attack on black people. Texas has the most eligible black voters of any state in America. This is white conservative Republicans saying, we do not want black people in Texas to have fair representation in Congress.
You're absolutely right, Roland. And first, let me just say to Representative Johnson and to all the other, reps, thank you. Thank you for showing the kind of fight that, black folks across this country, progressives have been wanting to see at the national level. And so thank y'all so much. We're pleased to have supported the Texas Dems when they did this back in 2021 over voting rights. At that time, they were right then and they're right now. They were courageous then and they're courageous now. So yes, this is definitely an attack against black voters. Just as much as it's an attack against black representatives. We saw this back in 2022. Part of what they're hoping on is they know that this isn't legal, but they hope that they can do it and just make it happen in 2026 before all the litigation and court cases takes effect. That's what happened in 2022. What happened when Congress shifted? It was because of gerrymandering that took place in Louisiana, in Alabama, in Georgia, in Florida. That's what made up that difference, that 4 or 5 seat difference back in 22. It was strictly off of racist gerrymandering. They're trying to do the same thing, even if it doesn't last past 26. They know that the damage would be done. And then once you get somebody in there, it's hard to get them out.
Well, and let's unpack that, because what people don't understand is we had Tarrant County Commissioner Lisa Simmons on last week. So first of all, the filing deadline is in December for the March primary. And so if they're able to pass these maps, the court case is not going to happen in 3 or 4 months. And so the Supreme Court has a rule that, well, you got to have a certain amount of time to allow voters to prepare for the election. And so what Texas wants to do, Texas wants to pass these maps. Now they become the new maps. Lawsuit is filed. Filing deadline for the new maps is in December. So the primary in March and the general election in 2026 is based upon the new maps, not the old maps, locking in 5 new members. And then you're going to have litigation. Those maps could very well stay in place for the 2028 midterm elections. And so let's just say the Supreme Court overrules Texas. Then the old maps or newly redrawn maps are not in effect until 2030. Representative Johnson, that is their strategy.
Exactly. Call it what it is. It's a power grab. It's a power grab for Trump to take over power of the Congress, of both the House and the Senate, but he really wants the House. This is a racial attack on Black and brown voters and representation. He is afraid because he knows that his approval level is in the trash. It's going down further and further down because people are realizing that he did not keep his promises. He did not reduce the cost of eggs. He did not reduce the debt. He did not keep his promises. Therefore, he should not keep his job. But he wants to come to Texas to do a power grab, an attack on Black and brown. We are tired of it. We are saying we are sick and tired of it. We are sick of the attack of our people, and we just not do anything about it. So we had to fight. The best way we knew how is to do a quorum break and not give them the opportunity to vote that map in. We were ready to fight. We were ready to stick together.
But here's the key right here, Cliff, and people watching to understand. The proper language must be used. It's actually a mistake. So for the purpose of the lawsuit, Democrats should not actually call it a power grab, should not call us in partisan gerrymandering. They have to specifically say this is racist gerrymandering, because when the lawsuit is filed, then they're going to enter into evidence that was the point, which is why State Representative Yolanda Jones, when she was on the redistricting committee, which she actually resigned from, they told people testifying they couldn't take sides. So people were commenting on a process, never seeing the maps, because they wanted there to be non-racial language discussed, so when the lawsuit is filed, they could say, well, the people testified, but race was never brought up.
Exactly. It never was a fair process. And you're right, we have to call it what it is. It's a racial attack. It's racial mandering. That's what it is.
Cliff, speak on that. And Cliff, for the purpose of people understanding, y'all have filed numerous lawsuits. So explain why the language must be proper, because when you file the lawsuit, it's going to be based upon the reasons for the lawsuit.
Yeah, that's right. Many a case has been lost, not so much because the case didn't have merit, but because the way it was framed, because the language that was used or the issue that was raised simply wasn't the right issue, especially when you're dealing with a court like this Supreme Court that we know isn't legitimate, that is looking for any reason to throw out any of our lawsuits against the racist gerrymandering. And so, you know, I know that our friends that are, I'm sure that's going to be on this, folks like Legal Defense Fund and others, you know, they're going to get it right. They just have to have like the ammunition, the backup, the evidence and the testimony. But at the end of the day, part of that testimony is going to be this. Part of the reason that we know this is so racist is that you pointed out the hypocrisy of Abbott a little bit earlier on. Here he is talking about, you know, oh, we can't leave these seats vacant, right? They abandoning their posts. This is the same Abbott that has left District 18, right, after the death of Sylvester Turner, has left that vacant. So clearly he's not in a rush to fill seats, because that's a seat that should have been filled. But what's the commonality between that seat and these seats that they're targeting? Again, Black representation and Black voters. It's all racist.
And so, again, and I need everybody watching, again, please listen. The language you use is critically important. Now, I need y'all to see how they're trying now to flip it. Let me say it again. The Trump Department of Justice, that idiot Dylan, whatever her name is, this all started because they sent, and actually, truth be told, they kind of screwed up, but not necessarily. So here's what they did. I need to unpack it for y'all. They sent a letter saying your seats are unconstitutional. They were drawn based upon race. Texas Republicans are on record by saying they were not drawn based upon race. Then they go special session. Then they flip it to, oh no, it's about power. Here's the chairman of the committee. Listen to what he says, because he's trying to now run from the race aspect. Listen.
I've seen no evidence that this was racially drawn. This is a political performance map. I haven't looked at those. The question I had when I looked at this and I was evaluating it myself was, does this improve the political performance of Republicans in Texas, which is where we have been trending, and what we need to do to respond nationally. This is not just a Texas issue. It's a nationwide issue. It's perhaps one of the biggest issues that we're taking up. And when we've seen all of these blue states overperform with their maps and Texas is underperforming, that puts Republicans at a distinct distinct disadvantage nationwide, and it's right for Texas to step up. So I have not seen any evidence that this map was racially based. What I have seen is evidence that this map was politically based, and that's totally legal, totally allowed, and totally fair.
To be guys, what are you doing? Go back to the video. Thank you.
As a pretense to kick off this process, you're saying this was about politics. This is about political power.
I disagree with the assumption that this process had anything to do with the DOJ letter. Yeah, they sent a letter, but as you know, the proclamation called us in to do congressional redistricting. And we did congressional redistricting when we passed HB 4 based off of political performance. So, frankly, don't care what the DOJ letter said, and I think it's pretty clear that no one does on the prevailing side of this bill. So this bill was not based off of that DOJ letter. This bill was based off of improving political performance.
Tim Johnson, that's absolute total bullshit. This all started based on the letter.
The letter, because no constituent asked for that. The letter is what started this process, and Department of Justice is run by Trump. So yes, that is absolutely a false statement that he made. This is definitely based on the Department of Justice letter, and it's definitely based on race. They said it in the letter. They can say what they want on that press conference.
And here's what's crazy. This right here, Cliff, this is the proclamation issued by the governor. Legislation proposing a constitutional amendment allowing the Attorney General to prosecute state election crimes. Legislation that provides a revised congressional redistricting plan in light of constitutional concerns raised by the Department of Justice. The governor, in declaring the call for a special session, cites the letter. Now the committee chair is like, yeah, letter ain't had nothing to do with this. It's literally the reason why the governor called the special session.
Exactly. Right. Black and white.
Yeah. Everything they say and do is a lie, and and they act like we're not in the age where there's things in writings, there are things in photographs, there's videos like the video that you just showed, and so they just expect that they just go into court and just be able to lie. But again, part of why they're doing this is because they're counting on some illegitimate court at some point. Maybe it's a Judge Eileen Cannon. It's not going to be her. I don't think this is her district, but maybe it's another judge like that, right? But maybe it's a judge like what's the name that just got approved, Pirro from Fox TV. Maybe it's the corrupt Supreme Court. They know they don't have the law on the side. They know that it's racist. They know that there's all this stuff that contradicts them. But they're still going to try to get away with it.
And again, I just want everybody to understand, right here, look at the date in the top left corner, July 9th, 2025. See right here, in testimony whereof, I have hereunto signed my name and have officially caused the seal of the state of Texas to be affixed at my office in the city of Austin, Texas, this the 9th day of July, 2025, Greg Abbott. That was on July 9th. What happened on July 7th? Right here, U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, a letter to Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton says, RE, unconstitutional race-based congressional districts. This letter will serve as formal notice by the Department of Justice to the state of Texas of serious concerns regarding the legality of 4 of Texas' congressional districts. As stated below, congressional districts 9, 18, 29, and 33 currently constitute unconstitutional coalition districts, and we urge the state of Texas to rectify these race-based considerations from these specific districts. And Representative Johnson, the Republicans in Texas are on record as saying, no, we did not draw these districts in 2021 based upon race. So, Chairman, how can you say you didn't draw them on race in 2021? You were defending the districts in court. They send a letter, now based upon race. The governor cites the race, but then you go, oh, no, I don't care what the letter says.
Exactly. That's what they do. They lie to get what they want, and they will attack us to get what they want.
Well, that's exactly.
I just want to add.
Go ahead, Cliff. Final comment.
Just real quick, and I know that you put it in this context and throughout all the coverage that you've been doing on this, and you've been doing an amazing job, but there might be some folks listening or maybe that'll see this clip and they'll hear all this Texas stuff and the letter from the Texas governor and all that stuff, and they'll be thinking that this is just a Texas issue. And I just want to connect the dots the way that I know that you always do, because we need to be clear, everybody across this country, particularly every Black person across this country, I don't care what state you live in, this is our issue. This fight is our fight. These legislators that have courageously left the state, you know, there are reps too, right? Because what's at stake is control of this Congress. I don't care what the issue is that you care about. If you're upset about, you know, there's all these students that are going viral because they don't have no longer have the student aid to be able to go to college that's starting this month and next month. If you care about education, if you care about student aid, if you care about the fact that Black unemployment has just reached its highest point since COVID, if you care about any of these issues, if you care about folks being kidnapped off the street by, you know, people in mass, you know, so-called ICE agents or vigilantes or whatever they are that are in mass. If you care about any of these issues, then you need to be caring about this fight. And you need to be caring about these Texas Dems that are fighting this good fight. Everybody needs to be involved in this issue. Everybody needs to be reaching out to their elected officials, especially if you live in one of these states that can use the nuclear option, whether it's California, Illinois, or New York, or New Jersey, or Maryland. Everybody needs to be involved in this fight and make it a call to your elected officials somewhere, because this issue is not just about Texas, right? We want our fam in Texas to get the representation that they deserve. We want that, but we also need to be clear that this affects every one of us.
And Representative Johnson, last point, you got the governor sitting here threatening this little nonsense here. He says this amounts to an abandonment of forfeiture of an elected office. He's saying he's going to have folks arrested. If the House reconvenes at 3 p.m., he's going to call for the Attorney General to remove the missing Democrat from membership in the Texas House. In that opinion, the Attorney General considered whether Texas law allows for determination that the legislator has vacated office. All of this is so bullshit. He literally has no legal ground to stand on. This is nothing but bullshit from Greg Abbott to fire up his Republican base, and he knows it. And guess what? If he attempts it, y'all are going to court anyway, and the courts are going to sit here and stay it, so you can't remove anybody. So, hey, knock yourself out. Are y'all prepared? Because, again, deadline is December. The reality is y'all got to hold out for 4 months. Are y'all prepared, 51 Democrats, to hold out, to not be in the state for 4 months?
Well, Roland, we are doing everything we can, and yes, we are willing to fight this fight. We want to fight it to the end. We are taking it one session at a time. This session ends, and he could call another session if he wants to, which he probably will. We are in it for the fight. We are not afraid. We are not afraid of the warrants. We were not afraid to leave the state. We are just sick and tired of being stepped on for them to have more power. So we're here. We're here for the fight. We're here for it. Come and take us.
All right, Representative Johnson, I appreciate that. Cliff Albright, appreciate it as well. Thanks a lot. Folks, going to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around Black women, Black women's bodies, even Black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole-Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change,
diaspora wars. The internet has been swarmed. Who has a right to Blackness and Black culture? Who is overrepresented, underrepresented? It's too much. It's making us dizzy.
We don't have to be prideful without this air of superiority, right? All stories matter. within this Black sphere that we exist in.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, these Texas Democrats, they are in two places, New York State, also Chicago. A little bit earlier today, New York State Governor Kathy Hochul sounded off on what's happening there, and she says she's ready to act to change their districts in light of what these racist Republicans are doing in Texas.
For Representative Plessa and your colleagues from Texas, what is your response to Governor Abbott, accusing you all of, possibly committing a felony by being here and not returning to Austin by this afternoon? Is it safe to say you have no immediate plans and plan to stay here indefinitely?
Have you ever heard the saying, Texas says, come and get it, come and take it? That's what we're saying. Look, Governor is very good at manipulating the truth, right? And what he's saying is not completely accurate. He knows that we're using a tool that was given to us by the founders of the Texas Constitution. He knows what the rules are. And he's trying to manipulate the situation to make it play in his favor. It's not going to work. The people of Texas know, they've seen this playbook before, and they want fair maps. I told you, we had 9 hearings on redistricting. We had hundreds of Texans show up against these maps. It was a handful of people that testified in favor of these maps. I'm talking about 500 people that showed up on Friday. Texas Republicans didn't give them an access to have their voice heard. They limited debate in those hearings. So what I say to the governor is, you need to have better policies. You're not gonna just eliminate 20.
I gotta. So let me be clear. I'm a lawyer. A part of my practice is criminal defense work. There is no felony in the Texas Penal Code for what he says. So respectfully, he's making up some shit, okay? He's trying to get sound bites, and he has no legal mechanism. And if he did, subpoenas from Texas don't work in New York, so he gonna come get us how? Subpoenas in Texas don't work in Chicago. He's gonna come get us how? So let me be clear. He's putting up smoke and mirrors, and I'm hopeful that the media doesn't follow that. I will also say this. I was on the redistricting committee. I sat in on the meetings. We had 3 sham hearings with no maps, where people were forced to testify that they were neutral on the maps because of our processes, when actually, I would say about 99.9% of the people were against it. So they set it up. So when the litigation happens, because it's going to happen, trust and believe, right? That there will be testimony saying that everybody was neutral on it, which is, excuse my French, a damn lie. Then, when they got the map on Wednesday, and let me be clear, it was the worst kept secret in Texas. I was on the redistricting committee, and I was wondering in January, why am I on the redistricting committee? I mean, it ain't a redistricting year, and we didn't meet once. Right? But this was always the backup plan, always. I sat in on the hearings. It was a joke. The chair of the redistricting committee, Cody Vasut, is a lawyer. In the legislature, he is the expert on points of order. He knows the law. Cody pays attention to detail. During the redistricting committee meetings, well, I hadn't looked at anything. I don't know. I ain't seen no maps. Yeah. Whatever you say. So you peeing on me and you telling me it's raining and you expect me to believe it. Wrong answer. When they finally had the one public hearing with the map, and the secret was out. The stuff is gonna get filed on Wednesday and we're gonna have a marathon hearing on Friday, is what they said. The plan was filed on Wednesday and they had a 10-hour meeting on Friday. And the thing that was the most offensive to me as a person who went to these and asked questions about these, and let me be clear, the districts that are targeted overwhelmingly are Black districts, okay? They are pitting Jasmine Crockett against Mark Vesey, and they are pitting Al Green against CD18 where there's a black representative. If you don't know who sat in CD18, I live in CD18, by the way. Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvester Turner. So those are the people they're trying to take out. So I'm real upset about it, and my constituents are real upset about it. But it's really interesting that the map person who says that some law firm drafted the maps and he don't know that much about the maps, I felt like I was in a bad edition of an episode of White Man's Burden. For the most part, he told us, grown people speaking to us as if we were kids, said to us, you need to be happy. We didn't have to give you any hearings in the first place, and we know what's best for you. Well, I respectfully submit that they don't know what's best for us. They do not know what's best for us. And let me also be clear. My constituents demanded that I be here. So you think I'm gonna listen to Donald Trump and Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick and the Attorney General who can't treat his wife right and who lies on documentation? So I think he needs to worry about going to jail. But my point is this: we, the Democratic contingent, we are paying attention to what our constituents are demanding of us. They've literally told us, if you don't quorum break, we will primary you. That's how important it is. This is, people wonder, why should New York be concerned about what's going on in Texas? Why should anywhere be concerned with what's going on in Texas? I'm gonna tell you why. My grandmother says this: if you allow yourself to be a rug, people will step on you. No one was paying attention to North Carolina in 2024. There were 7 Republican Congresspeople, there were 7 Democratic Congresspeople. Guess what? The Republicans rigged the game in North Carolina, and they took 3 seats. I'm gonna say this one more again, that's Ebonics for those of y'all who don't speak it. They took 3 seats. Congress has a 3 Republican majority. Ding, 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 ding. So we weren't paying attention to what was going on in North Carolina, and look what we have. We got that big, ugly, terrible bill shoved down our throats. So guess what? I was paying attention. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Texas will not be North Carolina. We will not give him what we need. And we're marching, we ain't fleeing, we're fighting, and we are so incredibly thankful that the governor has hosted us, because we need allies.
They'd rather silence voters than serve them. From my perspective, to refuse to stand up and fight for our democracy as we are joining in solidarity with our friends from Texas means one thing: you won't fight for democracy, you're doomed to lose it. For almost 250 years, our democratic experience has been fought for, and it's endured. As governor of a state where many of those early battles took place, we're commemorating them next year. Those battles for freedom were here. That's why I cannot stand by and let this happen while Donald Trump and his co-conspirator, Greg Abbott, erode our democracy and drag us toward authoritarianism. Now, what Texas and Republican states are doing at the direction of Donald Trump, I say is nothing short of a legal insurrection against our capital. Legal meaning they're using the legal process. Does not mean it's legal, and it must be stopped. If Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same. There's a phrase: you have to fight fire with fire. That is a true statement of how we're feeling right now. And as I've said, another overused but applicable phrase: all's fair in love and war. That's why I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible.
Bringing my panel right now, joining us right now, Dr. Omekongo Dibinga, Senior Professor Lecturer, School of International Service, American University. He also, of course, is the author of the book Lies About Black People. Also, Dr. Nyambe Carter, Professor, University of Maryland, University Park. She joins us right now as well. Glad to have her here. Dr. Larry J. Walker, Associate Professor, University of Central Florida, out of Orlando. Glad to have all 3 of you here. So let's unpack this thing right here. Here's the issue that Democrats are facing. Nyambe, I'll start with you. And that is, Democrats believe in fairness. Democrats believe in what's just, they believe in what's right. And so what has happened is you've had these bipartisan these commissions, these independent commissions, the voters voted upon California, New York State, Michigan as well. Okay, that's great. They believe in fairness. Republicans are like, we don't give a shit about that. Let's take Ohio. The voters in Ohio passed a similar commission. The Republican legislature said, bump that, we ain't doing that shit. They overrode that commission. And so basically, Democrats have been fighting essentially with their hands behind their backs, while Republicans have been sitting here slashing and burning. And so the problem that Democrats have, they're going to have to go to the voters to overturn those commissions that were approved by the voters to be able to do this. And so even Attorney General Eric Holder, who leads this redistricting, gerrymandering, fighting gerrymandering, he now is on the record as saying, hell, I've been against gerrymandering, but if they're going to use gerrymandering to bolster their numbers, I can't be against it and screw my own party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, this is a war of the weapons, right? And for a long time, Republicans have used gerrymandering very skillfully. If you remember Project Red Map, where, over 20 years ago, Republicans looked at the sea of American voters and saw that the policies that they favor are not popular. People don't like them. People don't want more restriction in their life. They don't want less social welfare in their life. So Republicans knew that the only way that they could continue to win is to rig the maps. And they've done it quite skillfully. They were starting, like I said, using those 2010 numbers, turning over those small House district and those House seats all across these states, in New York, in the Michigans, in the Ohios, with their eyes on gubernatorial seats, with their eyes on being able to have these state legislatures, because that's where most redistricting happens in many places. And so they could have this moment, so they could have their moment. And now we're here in Texas, where they're not even pretending anymore that this has anything to do with fairness. And they can call it a partisan gerrymander, they can call it whatever they want to. But we only see that there are districts where they are represented by minorities and or Democrats, that these they're being packed essentially between Austin, Dallas, and Houston. And so we know what this is about. And also the Rio Grande Valley. We know what they're doing. And I think the problem with Democrats is they don't recognize that this is not something you can sort of, be nice about. This is naked, bare knuckle brawls here. And I think honestly what's happening with Republicans in Texas right now is they didn't anticipate that the Democratic caucus would do this, because this is something the Republicans would do.
First of all, we saw that, Larry, when the Republicans ran out of D.C. so they would not vote on the Epstein files. This is former Attorney General Eric Holder. Again, he has been leading a group against gerrymandering for a very long time. He now says, hey, that's not helping us. Watch.
And so I've been against gerrymandering. But in light of what Texas Republicans are doing at the direction of the White House, I say that what we've got to do is take responsive measures that are temporary in nature and combat that. We simply can't lie down and think that if we play fair, we're going to get a fair deal. We've got to do things that maybe I didn't necessarily support before, but that I find necessary to support now.
Here it is. What Niambe just said, Democrats have been playing nice. That is, this is what's right, this is what's fair, this is what's just. And the other side's like, we ain't doing none of that shit. You have to be gangster as gangster as they are. Larry, you're on mute.
So, Roland, this is like politics. If you have gladiators in Rome back in the day fighting. So this is about maintaining the permanent majority. So you're right. The Democrats have the right to fight. They have to get the street and talk. Because if you don't, 2026, 2028, and beyond, the harmful policy right now, the Trump administration and obviously those Republicans maintain a power structure, and we'll continue some of these same policies. The other thing that's really interesting here is former Attorney General to talk about, this is gerrymandering, and you talked about it, and he's done.
Larry, hold on one second. I got to stop you. We got to get your audio fixed. I don't know if it's the headset or whatever, but we're hearing every other word. So, guys, work on that. Let me go to Amy Congo.
Look, Roland, you've been talking about this for weeks. Democrats, go hard, fight back, speak up. Don't just give speeches on the floor. Like, get out there and use your power. We talk about how blue states are funding red states and all of these things. These Democrats are finally starting to do that. The fact of the matter is, but I think you said this a couple of weeks ago as well, that I'm also going to repeat. You said something to the effect of, don't give these ultimatums to the Republicans and, with Abbott. Say, if you do this, we're going to do it in California. We're going to do it in New York. Do it anyway, because these guys are shady. They are all about power grabbing. So the fact that Pritzker and Hochul and Newsom and possibly the, Westmore down here, in Maryland are thinking about doing this, in terms of adding more seats, don't think about it. Do it. This is the fight to maintain the democratic experiment. What are you going to do to help protect individuals in fighting for this democracy? So the fact that they're doing that, I hope that if Texas, the Republicans back down, that these blue states still do it, because they are going to figure out some other shady way to keep hold of the House. And their goal is, if Trump tries to run for another term, to help him do that, or if someone like a J.D. Vance comes in, make sure they get somebody in there who makes sure that Trump doesn't get prosecuted. That's their end game. So they have to fight this in every way, shape, or form. But lastly, I'm going to say, Roland, for people who live in Texas, particularly those who have been affected by this flooding, it shouldn't matter if they redistrict or not. Y'all who live in those districts should not be voting for these individuals who would put something like this on the floor, where they should be working only and primarily to be getting you the relief that you need for what just happened with this flooding and the lives lost there. And so the fact that they can still redistrict and win seats, there shouldn't be a Republican in Texas who is satisfied with the Republican Party down there. But forget it, regardless of what they do, this is what blue state leaders need to do, and this is what those Democrats in Texas need to do. And I applaud it 100%. We need more of that nationwide.
Folks, in 2021, when these maps are being withdrawn, Texas Democrat fled. But then you had some Texas Democrats who were weak, who were like, we need to go back and fight this, which was stupid because they had no votes. And so former State Representative Jarvis Johnson joins us right now. Jarvis, this here is a photo. You were in that photo. This was a news conference. This article is May 31st, 2021. And I remember some of those Democrats, and some of them actually lost when they actually ran for re-election, because they were like, well, no, we were elected to do our job. We're going to come back and fight the good fight. And it was like, the hell are you doing? You don't have the goddamn votes. You're going to get your ass kicked. And it was stupid as hell to sit here and go, let's just come back and debate this on the floor. No, the votes were not there. So the smart strategy is leave the state, stay out long as you can, and keep forcing Abbott to have to call special session after special session. But you cannot think you're going to somehow appeal to their good side, and we're going to make the good faith argument. They will spend 60 seconds voting for these new maps in a heartbeat.
All day long. I always say you can never be rational with irrational people. And the fact is that Republicans have become so irrational, and unfortunately, Democrats feel like at this point that they can appeal to their sensibility. We know exactly what they're doing. This is a power grab. When they can't win, they cheat. Their own base is tied to their beliefs, their policies, their talking points are all horrible. They're all trying to protect Trump, but this is a power grab for them. And Democrats need to start understanding. If Republicans were willing to burn the nation's Capitol down behind a lie, then Democrats better start learning how to stand up for truth and learning how to fight fire with fire. At the end of the day, everybody wants to talk about, Democrats, you're derelict in your duties. Your duty is to protect your constituency. And so to Trump and to Abbott and all the Republicans that want to keep talking about how Democrats aren't doing their job, they're exactly doing their job. And so you need to start doing yours and stop cheating. Stop trying to draw lines so you can get more seats. Have good policy and go to your voters, but stop doing this. And Democrats that are there, I'm telling you, please stay. You ain't got nothing to come back to.
Yeah, and here's the thing right here, okay? This happened in 2003. Democrats fled, and a deal was cut. I got no problem saying it. Former state rep Ron Wilson was a turncoat. He stood with those Democrats, stood with those Republicans, because he thought he was going to get that congressional seat at Al Green. He ran for it, got his ass kicked, then he lost his own state rep seat. You ain't got to say it. I'ma say it. I don't care. That's what happened. And guess what? They got screwed. 2021, same thing happened. This is an NPR story right here. Under revisions during closed-door negotiations, Republicans added language that can make it easier for a judge to overturn an election and push back the start of Sunday voting when many black churchgoers head to the polls. The 67-page measure would also eliminate drive-through voting in 24-hour polling centers, both of which Harris County, the state's largest Democratic stronghold, introduced last year. Let me also say this to everybody who's watching, who don't understand why Jarvis is saying what he's saying. What Texas also did, Republicans in Texas used to vote straight ticket. Guess what? Democrats in Harris County, where Houston is, got organized. Democrats in Dallas County got organized. Democrats in Bexar County, where San Antonio is, got organized. Democrats in Travis County were already organized. They then began to emphasize straight ticket voting. Guess what happened? Republicans lost Bexar County, lost Travis County, lost Dallas County, lost Harris County. And what did the Republicans in Texas do at the state capitol, Jarvis?
They took away straight party ticket voting.
Under the guise of, we want the voters to be thinking about the people they should be electing. So therefore, we shouldn't have straight ticket voting in Texas.
And you understand, in Harris County and all the other suburban counties around the state of Texas, you're going to have a large, very large ballot. And so you're going to take voting, and now you're going to make these lines extremely long. You're trying to discourage people from voting. You're trying to take away people's opportunity to vote. Standing in line for 7 hours simply to vote is ridiculous in America. But the fact is, this is why they did it purposely, to discourage voters from making sure that they can go to the polls and go and do their duty and go back to work.
So let me also help people who don't understand what we're talking about here. They hate Harris County. Harris County had 24-hour polling centers. They said that's illegal. I don't understand why. If you can go to a damn McDonald's 24 hours, why in the hell can't you vote? It's safe. Then they said, oh, yeah, we need to get rid of this voting in your car because a person should have the privacy of voting in a booth. What the hell are you talking about? My car is more private than anywhere else because ain't nobody in the damn car. They took that away. Why? Because they could not stand the big numbers that were happening in Harris County. Oh, and then what happened when the hurricane hit Texas and Harris County was devastated? This same asshole governor refused to give $1 billion in funding that came from the federal government, taxpayer money, to the folks in Harris County, and put the money elsewhere because he did not like the fact that Hidalgo is the county judge, and Democrats control Harris County, and Democrats control the mayor of Houston, then Mayor Sylvester Turner. And so these white racist Republicans have been denying billions of dollars to places like Harris County because they're pissed that people vote blue in Harris County. That's why Democrats in Austin cannot come back and must use every tool to stop these fascists in Texas.
Absolutely. And I hope that these Democrats truly understand there's nothing to come back here to. If you come back here, then we lose. We have to be willing to tear this system down to rebuild it. But we got to do it in the name of democracy. We got to do it right. But if the Democrats don't stay together, and here's the problem. The rumors are, they ain't going to be able to stay together. So, of course, the governor's going to call it again and call it again and call it again. But at the end of the day, if Democrats stay strong, you can defeat Republicans because they can't go into November trying to do this because they got to get into their own elections. But if we stay strong, we can win. We can protect our seats. We can protect and save what they are trying to steal. And exactly, they're literally taking away our black seats and literally creating themselves more Republican seats. So at the end of the day, there's all this threats that they're going to arrest people and fine people. All that's lies. They can't do none of that. They can't do any of that. These are all just lies. So in 2021, I helped lead the quorum break, and it was hard to keep it together. But at the end of the day, I still believe that the Democrats can pull this off, but they got to stay strong.
Absolutely. Jarvis Johnson, I appreciate you joining us at late. We call you immediately. And so never say I don't reach out to lawmakers and show them some love. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, brother. Take care.
Go to my iPad, folks. This is from the same NPR story. It says right here, the vote in the Texas Senate came just this is like the last time they did this here, y'all. And Larry, this is what people need to understand, how they don't give a damn about rules. The vote in the Texas Senate came just a short time after a final version of the bill had been made public Saturday. Around midnight, Republicans wielded their majority to suspend rules that would normally prohibit taking a vote on a bill that had not been posted for 24 hours, which Democrats protested as a breach of protocol that denied them and the public time to review the language first. So they will change the rules to suit them. They will change the procedures. And so you cannot trust Republicans to do what's right and what's fair. So you have no choice but to be as hardcore as they are.
This is about power and not democracy. And if people don't realize that, then we're going to continue to have the problems that we've already seen the last couple of months. And listen, you're right, Roland. Democrats have to be, once again, really willing to fight in the ring over this issue. The Republicans are going to continue to change the rules. There was a time that, it was a handshake agreement about how policies and procedures, whether it was the state or the federal level. Those days are gone. So you have to understand that they continue to change the rules, and Democrats have to be willing to adapt. In fact, they need to start going on the defense of some of these issues. And I don't just mean in some of these blue states, but Democrats are going to really think about a long-term plan as to address issues related to these voting, because it's going to continue to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
and once again, this is about power, not democracy.
Yes, it's going to continue to happen because the margins are small, Niambe. They are small margins. As you heard Representative Jolanda Jones say, there's a three-vote lead they have in there. They took the 3 seats in North Carolina. North Carolina used to have a 10-3 delegation, Republican versus Democrat. Then, when Democrats got control of the North Carolina State Supreme Court, they outlawed gerrymandering, racial and partisan gerrymandering. So North Carolina's congressional delegation went from 10-3 to 7-7. Republicans got control of the State Supreme Court, and then they took the seats back. Yo, that's what's going on here. People need to understand. These people do not believe in fairness. They do not believe in what's right and what's moral and just. And so this is where Democrats can understand it's about power. And to all the folks who are watching who are like, oh, man, you sitting there talking Democrat and Republican, guess what, all y'all black folks who saying that bullshit? You know what these folks going to do? They're going to vote against everything that's for black people. They are anti-black. They are anti-brown. They do not care about the advancement of black people. And so why in the hell would I even remotely consider voting for these racist fascists? And that's exactly who they are. This is a racist gerrymandered bill. This is a racist map. 61% of Texas is minority, and these white Republicans want 70+% of the congressional delegation to be white and Republican.
Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, Roland, procedure is for fools, right? I mean, these people will use every rule that they can get, then they change those rules. And if there are no rules, they'll bend them, right? Because they want to make sure that they are always in control. And as much as possible, they want to push out as many people that are going to be in opposition, that will throw up some red flags, that will stand in their way. And what they want to do, I mean, like, there was no need to do this gerrymandering right now. This isn't about right sizing. This is about Donald Trump, right, wanting more votes. And they said, we're going to get them for you, sir. And that's what they're doing. Nobody's asked for this. Nobody needs this. And I think the problem that Democrats keep having over and over again, at least it seems like the Texas delegation has got it, but maybe the National Democratic Party hasn't gotten it yet, is you cannot negotiate with these people. You cannot treat them like plain dealers. They're not. They are willing to backbite, backslide, and say whatever they need to say to get the things done. I mean, even trying to browbeat these Texas lawmakers into coming back into the state as if these people give a darn about their constituents and who they're not serving. it's just an attempt to get them to come there so they can hold that vote and keep going about business as usual and making sure most of those people are out of their seat and that their constituents end up with worse representation. And so, this is the appeal, right, to our lowest selves. The call is coming from inside the House.
I got to cut you quick. So here's a live look right now. Texas Democrats in Chicago are assembling for a news conference right now. That's right now. I'll tell you when we go live. Let me quickly go to Jay Jones. He's running for, because I got to go take this live. I don't want to have to cancel him. But let me bring up Jay right now. He's running for Attorney General in Virginia. Jay, why do you want to be the chief legal officer for the state of Virginia? Guys, bring up Jay's audio, please. All right,
can you guys?
Jay, we can hear you. Yeah. I'm going to go live to Chicago, but I need to go to you real quick. Why do you want to be the chief legal officer of the state of Virginia?
Because Virginia is on the cusp of a new generation. We want to make sure that we are prioritizing justice for everybody and making sure that we're standing up to the excesses and overreach of the Trump administration when our current attorney general would rather be Donald Trump's pro bono attorney.
Absolutely. Again, this is one of the things we're seeing guys, I don't know why y'all had that second thing up, so please get rid of it so Jay is full screen, please. Thank you. Jay, what people don't understand is the action you're seeing happen in Texas right now is because of the Attorney General. That's what's happening right now. So the Attorney General is crucial in every state.
Look, attorney generals have never been more important than right now to be on the front lines, to push back on all of the excesses and overreach of the Trump administration, to push back on the actions of governors who are trying to take the law into their own hands. That's why the 23 Democratic attorneys general that you've got across the country are the people who are doing the work on the front lines right now until we can get elected here in November of 2025 and then get at least a House of Congress back in 2026 so that we can get things back on track and make sure that we restore the trust of not just people in Virginia, but across this country in their governments and in their institutions.
Obviously, when you see what's happening in Virginia, you've got attacks on DEI. You've got Republicans right now in cahoots in Virginia with Trump, where they are targeting presidents of universities in Virginia. They want to take over the universities, public institutions. You've seen they run out the head of Virginia Military Institute, who's an African American. They want to run out the president of George Mason, who's an African American. We go over and over again. That makes no sense.
Look, they are using Virginia as a laboratory to go take these ideas on the road. We have a governor who would rather be Donald Trump's best friend and his lackey, and an attorney general who is too weak to stand up to the president when his job is supposed to be defending our institutions of higher learning. As attorney general, I will always protect Virginia's education system. I'll always put Virginia first. We don't answer to the president. We in Virginia are bigger and better than all of what we've seen over these last 3.5 years. And that's why this election, where early vote starts in September and election day is on November 4th, is so important. We can get a new governor. We can get a new lieutenant governor. I will become the next attorney general, and we will grow our majority in the House of Delegates so that we can bring some common sense back to Virginia, and we can show the rest of the country that we're better than what we've seen for these last 7 months.
You've got black attorney generals in, Maryland, Nevada, Illinois, Massachusetts, and I think I'm leaving somebody out.
Minnesota and Washington.
Yes, Minnesota and Washington. And again, for people who don't understand, as a result of these elections, as a result of what we've seen, secretaries of state and the governors, secretary of state and attorney generals have become hugely important when it comes to elections.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, these are critical places. And I think we also mentioned Letitia James in New York, some of the best attorneys general in the country that you mentioned. And I can't wait to be standing shoulder to shoulder with them as we fight back against the craziness that we see. But what you are also seeing is that the Trump ecosystem, this MAGA network of donors from all across the country, are investing in these races. They're running negative ads against me here in Virginia that are paid for out of Texas by folks who fund the president because they know that this is their only shot this year to try and hang on. And so we are fighting back against this ecosystem at every level because they are trying to steal these elections. They're trying to make sure that they can hang on, because what Donald Trump will like the least is to see me across the lawsuit from him when we sue to make sure that we're protecting Virginia's rights and our freedoms.
Absolutely. Jay, we want to have you back. I have to cut you short because the news conference has started, but I want to have you back before the election because it's important for people to do indeed vote. Tell folks where they can go get more information about your campaign.
Please just go to our website. It's my name, jjones.com. We will make history here in Virginia, and every cent counts. And if anyone feels that they want to get involved, all the information is there. And I thank everybody for their support. This is going to be a big one, and Virginia will be the first in many dominoes to fall as we head towards 2026.
And also, of course, we were there in Virginia for the Commonwealth Gala, the dinner, the big Democratic fundraising dinner. And of course, that was a difficult dinner for you to attend because your father, historic figure in Virginia, had recently passed. So certainly condolences to you and your family.
Thank you very, very much, and really appreciate everything and the opportunity to join you. We will be back. Thank you for everything, Roland, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, let's go live to Chicago, where Democrats are gathering for this news conference as we speak.
Other states will do exactly the same thing and neutralize what you're trying to do in Texas. It's not going to work because we are not going to let it work. We are going to stand strong with these courageous individuals who are standing behind me, who come to Illinois knowing that the rest of the nation is with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman. And as he said, we are ready to fight fire with fire. No butter knife to the gunfight. We are ready to bring the fire, bring the heat. We can do that too. And it's absolutely my pleasure to introduce Chair of the Progressive Caucus, Representative Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos. I got that out. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Buenas tardes. Soy Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos, diputada del Distrito 102. I am the state representative for House District 102. And we're here fighting because instead of Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans focusing on working families and the negative impacts of Trump's horrible bill, as I shared and I expressed with my colleagues the other day, with his horrible bill, my daughter just got an organ transplant 6 months ago. With his horrible bill, I don't know that we can pay 75% increase in premiums. It is going to hurt my family and thousands of families statewide and nationwide. His horrible bill is hurting working families. When families can't afford to buy groceries, when families don't know if they're going to be able to keep their children alive because they can't no longer afford health care, that is what our focus should be. But instead they're focusing on pushing these racist radical redistricting maps. And why is it racist? Because 70%, over 60% of our Texas population are Hispanic and African American and our Asian community. That is the largest African American population in the country is in Texas. The second largest Hispanic population in the country is in Texas. But they want to silence our voice. This is nothing short of blatant racism. They're going to cry and say, no, you can't say that. In fact, they've punished us. Congressman Crockett knows that. They don't allow us to say that word on the House floor. They say, you can't call us what we are. Use another word. But that is what you are, and that is what you are trying to do. Hurt these working families. Trump's policies when he's kidnapping families of color in the streets, that is nothing short of racism. He is coming after all of us who don't look like him and his Republican colleagues in the Texas House. So I will now introduce beautiful Congressman Al Green, wonderful congressman from Houston, who's going to really share a little more and enlighten a little more about the impact of these maps. Thank you.
Representative Rodriguez Ramos. Friends, after her profound words, it just seems to me that we ought to give her another expression of appreciation. And to all of my colleagues who have traversed some great distance to be here, and I'm talking about the state representatives now, I consider you my colleagues, it's easy to do something when you don't have to do it. They are leaving their homes, they're leaving their families, they have jobs, they have responsibilities, and this is courage that is uncommon. And with this kind of courage, they ought to be commended as well. Let's give them a big hand, please. Yes, we have a challenge before us. Dr. King reminded us that life is an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. What impacts one directly impacts all indirectly. And that's what we're facing now, this challenge of it not being Texas. It's not just Texas. It really is the United States of America, because if they succeed in Texas, they will take this to other states. They will take this to the county court level. They will take this to the commissioners, the school boards. They will take this across the length and breadth of the country, but they'll do it if we only stand by and watch them. But if we take a stand, we can stop them. That's what we're doing today. We're taking a stand, and we're going to prevent them from going forward in Texas. All right. Here's why we have to take this stand. Because one vote makes a difference. That's right. One vote makes a difference. It was one vote that allowed them to get the big, ugly steal out of the House. That's right. One vote. Yeah. And it was one vote in the Senate, with the vice president casting that vote, that allowed it to get out of the Senate and back to the House. Friends, I regret to tell you that the 18th Congressional District was not represented when that first vote took place. It was not. If the 18th had been represented, they'd have to find that one vote someplace else. One vote makes a difference. And in Texas, they are trying to silence 5 Democratic voices in the Congress of the United States of America. They have already made an effort to eliminate some of the districts. They're no longer going to be, there's no possibility of Democrats being elected. They are doing what the president has insisted be done, and I want you to know that we didn't introduce the race card. When this message was sent by and through the Justice Department to the state of Texas, to our Attorney General, they mentioned the race card because they talked about racial gerrymandering. They brought it up, and when they brought it up, they did it knowing that this was a buzzword. It was a trigger. They knew that if they could use the race card in Texas, where we've had white primaries, and when the Supreme Court said, well, you can't do that, then we had white pre-primaries, where we've had all sorts of obstacles to voting. They knew that that's a buzzword that people would respond to in Texas. But we are going to respond to that buzzword by telling them that your racism is not going to change democracy in the state of Texas. It's not going to change it in the United States of America. Racism is going to be met with our taking a stand for democracy. You take a stand for racism. We will stand for democracy, and we will win. We will win. Democracy is going to win. My final comment is this. As you know, the president and I don't exchange Christmas cards. The president is a very vindictive person. He is a don't bring me any bad news person. Just fired someone because he got bad news. We friends have to understand what we're dealing with. And if we understand what we're dealing with, we can stop what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an egomaniacal person who believes that he has to be right, and if he's not, then the world is wrong. He would impeach judges that differ with him. He would fire people that don't give him good news. He would change congressional districts just to get rid of people that have challenged him. But I want you to know this. The challenge is not over. It is not. Yes, we have brought challenges against him. And I want to assure you of this. There are no circumstances that will prevent me from continuing to challenge the bigotry emanating from the presidency in policy. I will not stop, and I promise you, this president is going to, he's going to be brought down.
Yes.
He's going to be brought down. He has to be brought down. And I don't mean physically. I'm talking about politically. We will bring him down. He will be impeached again. I thank you.
I'd like to bring on Chair Jessica Gonzalez.
Hello, again, my name is Jessica Gonzalez, and I'm proud to represent House District 104, which includes parts of Dallas and Grand Prairie. I'm also honored to be the chair of the Texas House LGBTQ caucus. Look, when we all got elected here, we were elected by our constituents, and that's who we work for. They elected us to represent their voices, their family, and their future. And that's exactly what we're all doing here by denying Texas Republicans quorum in order to pass these rigged congressional maps. And so I'm very proud to stand united with my Democrat colleagues. Look, one thing I do know is that Texas House Democrats know how to fight. We've been in these fights before. We've had to fight every single day when we're in regular session. We have our sleeves are rolled up, and we're ready to take this fight wherever it's going to take us, because our communities, our state, and our nation is definitely worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
And we know this is not about providing flood relief, because these congressional maps have been pushed. We have not had real discussions about providing folks relief who are in desperate need of it. And so we're just not going to stand for it. We're tired of it, and we're not going to let them do that to our communities. And so I'm proud to stand here united with my Democrat colleagues. You know, when I first got elected to House District 104, I was the first Latina to ever serve in that position, and I'm very, very proud of that. My community is a majority-minority district, and so when we do these kinds of, play these political games that Republicans want to play with our communities, it hurts people like in my district, and the districts of people that are standing behind me. And we take our jobs serious, unlike Texas House Republicans. So thank you. And next, I want to introduce our former colleague, Congresswoman Julie Johnson.
The most beautiful group of people. It is it's a big honor for me to be standing here as a former colleague, a former member of the Texas House, a former quorum breaker, and protesting the right to vote in Texas, and now as a member of Congress. And what is happening is so outrageous. And I want to talk a little bit about my district and the impact that this is having. So I represent Texas' 32nd Congressional District. It's an urban district. It's 80% in Dallas County, a little bit of the Collin County, the county to my north, and a little bit of Denton County. But for the most part, it's very urban. There's not a single farm plot in Texas 32. They have divided it into 7 new congressional districts. 2 that go all the way to the Oklahoma border. 2 that go almost from Dallas to the Louisiana border. And then the others in a mishmash of rural Texas. My district I have 7 cities that have been dismembered, paired with 6 to 7 rural counties. So what they've done is they've taken a group of people, predominantly minority, I have a minority-majority coalition seat of a city, and then paired it with 5 to 6 rural counties that have no commonality of interest whatsoever. The issues facing the constituents of my district are very different than the issues facing the constituents of Upshur County, which is in very East Texas. They're very different issues. I have 62% renters. That county is mostly rural white farmers. And the list goes on and on. And so what is happening here is the most blatant, racist disregard for the voters of Texas. Because let me remind you, and I was there, we were all there when these maps were passed in 2021 by unanimous votes of the Republicans who've just now issued arrest warrants for my dear colleagues and friends. Because they all swore at that time these maps were the most beautiful maps. They were perfect. They didn't disenfranchise voters. They've had lawsuits, they've filed affidavits, they've given depositions, they've sworn and all at waste to Sunday that these are the perfect maps. Until President Trump gets nervous because his poll numbers are in the crapper. Because he knows that the American people are not swallowing the crap he's pushing. Because he's harming millions and millions of people. His poll waters are underwater, and he knows he's not going to win. He knows he's not going to win in November of 2026. So rather than push for policies that the American voters want to support, they come back with this rigged up thing, a DOJ opinion that implies that these Texas maps now have to be completely dismembered. And it's wrong. And the voters of Texas, I hope, are listening. Because the courage that my dear friends and colleagues are showing by saying, no, we're protesting, we're putting ourselves at great risk to stand up for democracy and America. And voters, I hope you're seeing that. I hope you're feeling it. I hope you are experiencing the courage and the hope that these folks are providing. Because what is happening is an attack on our democracy throughout this entire country. And I'm so pleased and so proud that they're standing up for us all. Because what's happening here now is cracking throughout other states. You know, we're having a national conversation over voter rights. And I want to encourage California and New York and Maryland and Washington State to say, you know what, our gloves are off. If war is war, and Democrats, if y'all are going to do it in Texas, we're going to do it here, and this is a national war. And Democrats are no longer going to sit by handcuffed. This is an all-out war, and everything is on the table. That's right. And that is a message I really hope gets out loud and clear. But at the end of the day, I want to say thank you to each one of you for what you're doing. Know that the Democrats of the United States House of Representatives are 100% behind you. I hope you're feeling it. And I hope you out there, the voters, are getting a little glimmer of why politics is important. And that if they say, well, I don't know, politics doesn't affect me. I'm saying, honey, it does. If you don't do politics, politics will do you. And here we are. Politics is doing a lot of people right now. But you know, I want to end with this. We're all very proud Texans up here. Yeah. Most of us. Some are proud. But we're all very proud Texans. We come from a state of great pride. And I never thought, as a Texan, as an elected member of the Texas House of Representatives, and now as an elected member from Texas to the United States House of Representatives, that I would see the governor of the proud state of Texas bend a knee to a felon from New York. Never thought I'd see the day. Here we are.
Now it's my honor to introduce Rep. Busey.
Thank you all so much. I'm so proud to stand with my colleagues in the Texas House and our friends in Congress. We're all here tonight, not on vacation. We are here fighting and actively working for our constituents and the people of Texas. This is us on the job, fighting for our constituents. Hi everyone, my name is State Representative John Busey, and I have the great pleasure of representing Austin in House District 136. Look, I didn't run for office to walk out of the Capitol. But I also didn't run for office to stand by while democracy is stolen in broad daylight. Texas Democrats broke quorum because sometimes the only way to uphold your oath is to refuse to play along with the rigged game. Let's be clear. This special session was supposed to be about saving lives after a tragedy. A cabin full of 8-year-old girls was washed away in the middle of the night. Families called 911 only to hear that help wasn't coming. At the end of the day, 137 Texans lost their lives. That's an emergency. That demands our action. But instead of holding hearings on flood prevention, Greg Abbott and Donald Trump held 8 hearings on redistricting. Not for fairness, not for representation, but to manufacture 5 more Republican seats in Congress to enable Trump to cling on to power. That isn't governing, that's a heist. And we're here to stop it. When politicians can redraw the maps in the middle of the decade just because they're scared that voters won't reelect them, that's betrayal. Look, the governor can lie all he wants, but we're not running away, we're running into the fight. Yeah. Texas Democrats are standing up for one of our most basic American principles, the right to representation. So no, this isn't political theater, it's survival. Because if we lose the power to choose our leaders, we lose everything. We broke Quorum because this isn't just about maps. It's about power. And in Texas, the power still belongs to the voters. I want to thank y'all so much, and I have the pleasure of introducing one of our great champions, Congressman Mark Vesey. He's a passionate advocate for Texas's 33rd district. He's fighting for working families, voting rights, and economic opportunity. And if you didn't know, he's in fact is the founder of the Voting Rights Caucus in Congress. He's from Fort Worth to Washington. Congressman Vesey has shown us that he will stand up to Donald Trump, he will fight for Texans, and he will fight for Americans. Please help me welcome our good friend, Congressman Martin.
Thank you, Representative. And you know, the press, y'all been getting something wrong. I've been seeing a lot of headlines that say that these Texas legislators are fleeing. These Texas legislators ain't fleeing. These Texas legislators are fighting. Yeah. They are fighting corruption, they are fighting racism, and they are fighting rigging. And that is what it is all about. And I got to tell you, it's crazy to think about that 60 years ago today, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 declared that no American, no Black American, no Latino American, no Asian American, no working class voter would ever be denied their voice in our democracy because of who they are or where they live. But that promise is under attack today by Greg Abbott bending a knee to Donald Trump, and it is absolutely wrong and it is embarrassing. And I got to tell you, I'm proud of these heroes that are standing behind me, some of which are my former colleagues in the state legislature where I spent 8 years before going to Congress. And I got to tell you, I came into Congress right after the 2003 mid-decade redistricting when a group of Democrats had just left the state to block discriminatory redistricting that had happened literally just before I was sworn in. And I got to tell you, we made a big mistake back then. We had no blue states back during that time period after Tom DeLay did his mid-decade redistricting. We didn't have any Democratic states that followed suit. And so it gave them the incentive to do it again, and that's why we are here right now. But I got to tell all of my friends that are Republicans that are out there watching right now, the game has changed, baby. It ain't the same no more. It ain't the same no more. We are going to match Donald Trump's energy when it comes to redistricting. As it was said before, it's been Democrats, we have shown up to a gunfight with nothing but good intentions and dull knives. And that era is over. We are not going to unilaterally disarm. And that's what's different this time around. And so to the governor of this state, of Illinois, the governor of California and New York, thank you for standing tall with us. We need our other Democratic governors in New Jersey, New Mexico, Maryland, Jersey, Maryland, Oregon, and Washington. We need for them to stand with us now also. This is serious business. This is absolutely serious business. Democracy is at stake here, and we have to keep fighting Donald Trump each and every step of the way. With that, I now call back to the podium Representative Harold Dutton, who I served with out of Houston. Harold.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start by saying my name is Harold Dutton. I'm from Houston. Most people say I'm from Fifth Ward. And I guess that's true. One of the things I learned in Fifth Ward, after 7th grade, was that we learned that in order to have democracy, it had to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. But in Texas, what we've changed that to is we're going to have democracy by being of the party, by the party, and for the party. That's right. That's absolutely crazy. And I want to correct something, and I think Representative Beasley said it. We're not running from anything. We're trying to make sure that when democracy is in Texas, it is going to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And secondly, if you see us running in a fight, we're chasing somebody. Now, let me end with this. I'm here because one of my constituents told me, she said, well, if you all are going to hang separately, you might as well hang together. And so I'm here with my colleagues because I don't think we're going to hang. Because another constituent said to me, Representative Green, said, you know the story in the Bible about Haman and Mordecai? Haman built the gallows for Mordecai. And guess who they put on the gallows first? Haman. And so I think all of this is going to backfire on these Republicans because I think they have raised democracy issues so far and so high that the people in Texas now are getting the message. And that's one of the reasons we're here. I'm thankful for the Illinois delegation. I have worked with them before. My first cousin was Monique Davis, who was a member of the Illinois delegation for a long time. She said to tell you all hello to because she wanted to come over. I had to stop her from doing that. But again, I think that the challenge for us is really to make sure that our people get to vote. And we're going to do that. Now with that, let me stop and introduce me. No, I'm going to introduce Sojourner Truth, better known as Jasmine Crockett.
Your last and final speaker, but let me tell you something. I want to make sure that I make it clear who these people that are standing behind me are. Because I don't think that the American people truly understand the amount of sacrifice that these warriors and heroes are making right now. Most people don't understand that in the Texas House, you only get paid $7,000 as it is as a salary. But these people are saying, listen, we are going to do our job because we understand our oath, unlike those that serve on the federal level and are Republicans, as well as those that serve in our current Supreme Court and happen to have been appointed by Republicans, as well as those that serve in the Texas House right now and happen to be Republicans. These are people that understand what it is to be a representative. They understand their constituencies, and instead of trying to stomp on them, they want to do everything that they can to stomp for them. And so that's why they're here. Now let me say, this governor talks a lot of noise. And I made sure that I put up my warrant from 4 years ago to make it plain that they talk a lot of noise, but these guys are weak. That's why they're over here trying to bully people. Bullies are always weak. The difference is they expect Democrats to kind of be the nice guys that we are. They expect us to take the punch and say thank you. Well, I am here to tell you not only are we going to punch back, but we about to beat you down. We're going to win. I'm going to tell you why we're going to win, because people are tired. And as it's already been said, we got a few truth tellers that came before us. A number of them came out of Texas. So I need y'all to understand that maybe you haven't learned these amazing warriors' names, but you will know their names. Y'all know how the president feels about me. Got my training ground right there in Texas. We know that there was another amazing black woman out of the state of Texas by the name of Barbara Jordan that had to check another corrupt president by the name of Nixon. So I'm here to tell you, just like I told a group of folk in Arizona yesterday, Frankie Beverly and Mays said it best. We are one. For everyone that's been asking, where are the Democrats? Well, here they are. For everyone that's been asking, where is the fight? Well, here it is. But let me tell you something. Don't leave them out on the ledge by themselves. They need to know that you, the American people, stand with them because they are standing for you. There are so many people that they will never meet, but they understand the importance of making sure that they have a voice when it comes to their government. They understand the importance of standing for what democracy is and making sure that it does not fall by the wayside. They understand that we have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States. Well, I got another thing to tell you, sir. The Democrats, no matter whether we're talking about these Texas House Democrats, or whether we're talking about the governor from Illinois, the governor from California, or whether we're talking about New York, or I can go through the states and it's not just the governors. It is the state houses. It is the state senators. It is those congressional delegations that are saying, do what you gotta do and I will fight and I will win and I will earn my seat back to the people's house in DC. I am here to tell you the time is up for playing in our faces. The Democrats are not going to stand for this any longer. We know that we are standing for the people. And so long as we stand for the people, I absolutely believe the people are going to stand for us. Right. So I just want to be clear. Do whatever you can to support these heroes. Because they are the ones that had to leave their families. They are the ones that have warrants out for their arrest. They are the ones that are doing things that, honestly, a lot of other people do not have the audacity to do. So make sure when you talk about them, press, put some respect on their names. I appreciate y'all.
It's our closer.
Oh, we're done.
Question?
We're done.
How will you pay? How will you pay for this? Mr. Wu, are you taking questions?
Yes, we are. We done. That's what it says.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I am State Representative Ron Reynolds, and I'm proud to serve as the Chair Emeritus of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus under the great leadership of our Chairwoman, Barbara German-Hawkins, and as Vice Chair of the House Democratic Caucus under the great leadership of Chairman Gene Wu. And we're all united, standing on the right side of history. You know, Congressman BC's right. It was 60 years ago that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed into law. And it was signed by a great Texan by the name of Lyndon Baines Johnson. But that Voting Rights Act didn't come easy. It came as a result of people who made the ultimate sacrifice, people who we may remember, like Congressman John Lewis, who made good trouble. He risked his life to end Jim Crow. He did everything with other freedom fighters. They took freedom rides. They sat at lunch counters. They did everything they could to end poll taxes and literacy tests. And thank God, many of us here today would not be here but for the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It was, as Congresswoman Crockett said, Barbara Jordan, who was the first African-American congresswoman from the South since Reconstruction. She was only there because of that bill. And here we are on the right side of history trying to stop the Texas steal by Abbott and Trump that want to take us back. They literally want to take us back by disenfranchising Black and brown communities. And we say no. No, we say hell no. Not on our watch. We will not allow you to turn back the clock. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue speaking truth to power. We're going to continue doing everything we can to protect the precious fundamental right to vote. And I will end with this. Our scripture teaches us in Proverbs 31:8-9 to speak out for the one who cannot speak, for the rights of those who are doomed. Speak out, judge fairly, and defend the rights of oppressed and needy people. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that the Democrats are going to keep speaking out. We're going to call out the racist gerrymander that President Trump, these MAGA extremists like Trump, like Abbott, want to push down our throats. Not on our watch. We're not going back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to say, give a special thank you to the IBEW for hosting us, and thank you for all the kindness and Illinoisans who have been so nice to us. We're not going to do group questions. Members will be available for individual interviews if you want, but we do, the Democrats, our House Democrats do actually have to make another meeting, so we have a limited amount of time.
Folks, that was a group of Texas Democrat state representatives as well as U.S. House members just concluding a news conference in Chicago. 51 Texas Democrats have left the state, preventing the Texas House of Representatives from having a quorum, which stops Republicans from being able to pass the racist gerrymandered maps they presented late last week. This is critically important because in order to vote on these maps, the House has to be in session, but there has to be a quorum. The Republicans control the legislature, control the House, more than 20 votes. So 51 Democrats had to leave the state, meaning they don't have the jurisdiction. Understand what happens in Texas. The law allows for the governor to send Texas state troopers to literally, not to use arrest, but let's say bring a legislator back to the state capitol in order for them to be in session. So by leaving the state, Texas no longer has any jurisdiction to be able to arrest a lawmaker to come back and be present in the state capitol. That's why they're in Chicago. Earlier today, a number of them, yesterday and today, they were in New York State meeting with Governor Kathy Hochul. Yesterday, Governor Jay Pritzker of Illinois, who's actually helping fund them being there. A private plane was sent for them from Texas to fly to Illinois. They're putting them up there because there are obviously significant costs to house and feed 51 people, and you don't know how long they're going to be there. Now, here's the deal. The special session in Texas is that which the governor calls for. It's a 30-day special session. It expires August 19th, and the governor can't immediately call another special session. So that's likely what he is going to do. Now, somebody asked the question, how long must Democrats hold out? December. So let me explain the politics here. There's a deadline in December to file to run for office in 2026. So you must file by a certain date in December. Control room, find the date for me and get it to me, please. So if that's the case, then what's going to happen is you're then going to see these members. You're going to see these members file. So they have to fight. They have to fight Texas. They have to fight Texas through December. They got to stop the Republicans from passing this map. That means that if the session ends August 19th, the governor calls for a 30-day session, then that's going to begin on a certain day. Then they can't have a quorum for 30 days. So let's say that's August 20th through September. That session ends, they got to hold out September to October. They got to hold out October to November. Then they got to hold out through December to keep the House from being able to vote on these maps. Now, Supreme Court has a precedent in that they don't like to rule on cases where essentially maps are locked in. So let me explain what that means. What that means is they believe that you have to have sufficient time for the voters to decide who they want to vote for. So Republicans want to pass the maps before December so those maps take effect. Lawsuits are filed. They know there are hearings. The lawsuits will not be determined. It's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. It's not going to be determined for a year, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. Do y'all know right now, lawsuits were filed against the 2021 maps. That is still going on right now in 2024. So the lawsuits from the 2021 maps are still taking place right now. So the Supreme Court freezes maps in place. And so what the Supreme Court will say is, we will leave, even though they may, because it happened in Alabama and Louisiana, even though the Supreme Court declared the maps to be unconstitutional, they were frozen in place until arguments could be heard and the cases could be fully adjudicated. So Republicans have been elected in the past, this is like in the last 4 to 6 years, in maps that were declared unconstitutional, but the Supreme Court froze them in place. That's why we're where we are right now. Back to my panel. Omekongo, Larry, Liambi, I'm going to go to you. These are the things that people need to understand, the nuances of what's going on here. And so, J.B. Pritzker is the richest governor in the country. He's worth more than $1 billion. Democrats, we pulled the Texas Tribune article up last week. They were like, hey, we have to fund this. Like, people don't understand. And you got to keep 51 out of the state. So, Niambi, so what they're going to be doing is, looking at your numbers and saying, okay, how many people who can go home for a week or come back? It's going to be all of that. It's going to be a lot of planning around scheduling. But the only power that Texas Democrats have to stop these racist gerrymandered maps from becoming law is to do what they are doing.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things you said, Roland, is this is going to have to be a game of wits, because on the numbers, Republicans have it, right? And so it's about logistics, like you said, negotiating who can go home and win, but for how long. But we have to also remember there are going to be fines imposed on those same legislators for all the days that they're missing. I think Abbott said something like $500 a day. So this is going to be costly in more ways than one. Whether he does that, whether they meet those obligations are another thing. But I think, as you noted, this is a long game. And so there's going to have to be a lot of coordination, a lot of funding for these folks while they stay out of the state. And we have to also remember people have families, right? People have kids, people have parents that they're caregiving for. They have clients, right? Some of these members are attorneys. So they have other people they're also obligated to. So this is not a small thing that they're doing. It is going to be a real sacrifice. And it's going to require a lot of support, not just from their local constituents, but also the constituents of the local jurisdictions where they're going to be fleeing to.
Understand here, okay, when we talk about a quorum, there are 150 seats in the Texas House, Larry. Democrats have 62 of those seats. And so in order for them to have a quorum, that's why 51 can't show up. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, and as you know, my colleague noted, it's a matter of not only sacrifice, but how long can they hold out? This is going to be a tremendous coordinated effort. As you mentioned, Roland, your 30-day session, the governor's calling on that. We're going to have individuals fall, some of the individuals that stay behind, where they fly out. So it'll have to be really important in terms of how they coordinate activities to make sure that they can't vote on this unfair map. The other thing is, Roland, is how do you want to remember historically? We talk a lot about those fighting in the civil rights movement, but there are a lot of people behind that you don't know about that make tremendous sacrifices. So this is an opportunity to stay steadfast and make sure that we have a fair map and they don't provide Trump with the votes that he needs.
This is a piece from the Texas Tribune that says denying quorum has been a Texas political strategy since 1870. And while the Democrats could technically derail the GOP's redistricting plan, such efforts have been largely symbolic and had limited success blocking past legislation. Now, according to this story right here, it says right here, June 1870, Omekongo, 13 Texas senators walked out of the Capitol to block a bill giving the governor wartime powers, depriving the upper chamber of the 2/3 quorum required for voting. Though the fleeing members were arrested and the bill eventually passed, the, quote, rump Senate incident established quorum breaking as a minority party tactic that has persisted in Texas politics ever since. Quorum breaks took place in 1979, 2003, 2021, and that's what's going on here. So you see right here, this expert says it's a messaging move. It's a last resort for Democrats who have run out of options legislatively and even legally. So you need 2/3 of the House members present in order to call it into session. Again, Democrats have 62 out of 150. By keeping 51 out, they don't meet the 2/3 quorum in the Texas House.
This is powerful. This is powerful, and they're standing on history. So I'm glad you shared that particular point about the history, because some people are going to call them rabble rousers. I'm sure some are calling them insurrectionists and all of this other type of stuff. They're standing right in line with what has happened in Texas for decades, going back to 1870. I think that's very powerful that you would share that. I think it's also important to, while the press conference was playing, Roland, I was scrolling through the other news networks. Nobody was playing this. Nobody was playing this live. Nobody was giving them the attention that they deserve. So that was another thing that I picked up on as they're fighting. And then the last thing I picked up on was I looked at the diversity of the people who were on that stage versus the Texas Republicans, right? You know, you saw people part of the LGBT community, Latino, Black, white males, Black women, like run down the list, and it was all there. So that is a group of individuals that look like America, who are fighting for America. So when you're talking about they're going to be gone. Niambi was talking about the cost. I hope people like George Clooney and the like are going to be stepping up, to help these individuals. I'm thinking about that Texas Representative Ramos. She was talking about her daughter, and I was wondering, is her daughter with her? Did she have to leave her in Texas? These people are putting up a real sacrifice for this country, and they're standing in line of what they've been doing in Texas. What I appreciate what they're doing, as opposed to what Trump and his ilk are doing, everything these Texas Democrats are doing, it is legal. And all we've been asking for is for Democrats to use their power to legally fight back. And now that they're doing that, they deserve not only our praise, but our support and probably our financial support as they go through this as well.
Niambi, Larry made the point about coordination, and that is the case here. And I think this is so unique and different. And this is real. This is a moment where it's going to be a significant sacrifice. It's going to be a significant cost. But let me reiterate this again for people who think that we're playing around here. Republicans are doing this because they are scared to death. They are scared to death of losing the House next year. They know that they lose the House next year, Democrats can stop any bill from passing that goes to Donald Trump. That's what's going on here. So what they're trying to do is, I need people to understand, they are trying, they are anticipating, they are looking at polling data right now. They know gas prices are up. Grocery prices are up. They know Donald Trump is down in a huge way on immigration. They know he was at 55% among folks 18-29 when he first was inaugurated. He's down some 27 points in that category. So they see the writing on the wall. We are seeing the impacts of tariffs. We were going to have economist Morgan Harper on, but we needed more time to explain economic stuff. We're going to have her back on tomorrow. They know what's going on. They are freaking out. So their deal is, hell, let's get 5 in Texas. Let's see how many we can pick up in Florida. Let's see how many we can pick up in Ohio. So they're hoping they can rig this map to pick up 10, 12 seats. And the reason there's a battle because Democrats could literally wipe them out in California. The problem is they got to get around that independent redistricting committee in California. There's an independent redistricting committee in New York State. Democrats, blue states are the largest states. So between California, Illinois, New York State, Virginia, Maryland, Democrats could conceivably pick up 20 seats. If they lose 5 in Texas, and let's say lose in Florida, a net gain of 10 seats. They only down 3. So they could actually win. That's why this battle is going on. It's about the House. The Senate, it's hard for them to win the Senate, but they have a better shot at winning the House because you've got 35 Republicans who are vulnerable, who are in districts that Biden won.
Absolutely. And I think, though, Texas is a real bellwether. This is a real test because so goes Texas, so goes a lot of the Republican Party. I mean, Texas is a big state with a lot of votes, but it also has a lot of young people and a lot of Black folks and a lot of Latino folks who are pissed off, and rightfully so, because these people have seen their children die yet again. We saw what happened with Uvalde, and we kind of moved on. And then we saw just what happened with these floods. So I think it is about, what can be happening in these blue states, right? But it is also about what are the future prognoses, right, of this party should Texas go down. And let's be clear, Abbott is thinking about his legacy too. And he's trying to think about how he can hitch his wagon to a star that looks like success. But as you know, Donald Trump is failing in so many areas. He has not kept a promise, or at least not kept it the way that people wanted him to. But he's also not changed people's lives in any appreciable way. I think many people would say their life is worse now than it was 9 months ago. And not only that, when you look at a place like Texas, what's happening with the energy costs, with the grid there, whether it was the snowstorm where people lost power, or again, with these floods and these natural disasters that are only going to keep happening. I mean, people are really hurting and somebody has to pay. And unfortunately, it's on Republicans' watch. And they know that. And their time is ticking, even in a place like Texas. It's just a matter of this is going to happen faster or slower. And they are trying to really stave off the inevitable because you got a lot of young, very restless people in that state. And if you look to places like Maryland and other Democratic states, I mean, they have to protect themselves. I mean, this administration is downright vengeful in going after those places. So it's not just about depriving Republicans of seats. It's also about how can we inoculate ourselves as much as possible from this administration.
But the young people in the state got a vote. 2022, Larry, when Beto O'Rourke, former congressman, ran against Greg Abbott for governor, 75% of young voters in Texas under the age of 30 did not vote. Texas has the largest Black voting population in the country, not hitting the numbers. And this is the thing we got to understand here. This is why Republicans are scared. Go to my iPad, Antoine. House Republicans in competitive districts who voted for Trump's budget bill. You see this: Alaska, Colorado, Kentucky, Missouri, Nebraska. Don Bacon right there represents Omaha, Nebraska. He's retiring. New Jersey, Tom Keene Jr. Mike Lawler, competitive district there in New York. Andy Ogles in Tennessee. Monica De La Cruz in Texas. You have Michigan, 2 seats in Virginia. 2 in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is critical because you now have a Democratic-controlled state Supreme Court, and they've put back on the ballot. They've now made it lawful to have ballot drop boxes and things along those lines. They also outlawed partisan gerrymandering there in Wisconsin. 3 in Arizona, 3 in Colorado, 3 in Florida, 4 in Iowa. 3 in Iowa, 3 in Ohio. Then you see 4 there in Pennsylvania. And so that's what we are seeing. Republicans desperate want to gerrymander Pennsylvania because this is what they're basing, Larry. They're saying, well, Trump won these states. Well, that means nothing. People have to understand congressional districts, there are 435 in the country. They represent some 800,000 people. It has nothing to do about Trump winning a state. That means nothing. Hell, in North Carolina, Trump won North Carolina, but Democrats won the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General. They won the state school superintendent and a Supreme Court seat. Republicans won the state auditor. So that means nothing. Who gives a damn if Trump won the state? That's not how congressional elections are. But this is about them. Those are 35 vulnerable people. That's why they're trying to steal these 5 seats with this racist map.
Yes, trying to create a permanent majority, and you can't let that happen. Roland, I want to go to something you highlighted about young people and certain demographics. I think there are two challenges: misinformation and voter suppression. But the bottom line is, if the Democrats can win on issues like we're talking about what's happening in Texas to make sure we prevent some of this gerrymandering, then none of this will matter. We've already seen some of the implications in terms of some of the student loan issues like Biden and people have to pay. Now back to the SAVE program is eliminated. But it's really important that not only in Texas, but what's going to happen in Florida and some of these other states, other red states, as they try to peel away some more of these congressional districts, Democrats have to have a plan. You need to have money and consistent support. That's the only way we can deal with this tidal wave as relates to gerrymandering. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with some of these same issues. The country is on the verge of a recession that's going to impact a number of working class and underserved individuals throughout the country. So this is the first step.
I understand, Congo, I understand the points that Larry just made there, and I agree, voter suppression, those things. But here I think is, again, the fundamental problem in Texas, and that we also see in other places. We see this for Democrats in Louisiana. We see this because we saw it in Georgia. It's an unorganized state. There are 254 counties in Texas. Democrats only have county offices in 81 of Texas' 254 counties. So the issue that you have is you do not have a sustained organizing apparatus in Texas that is 365 days, 7 days a week. Beto O'Rourke was putting that together. He traveled all across the state. He visited all 254 counties. But what happens when the election is over? And so what should be happening right now, whether it's called nonpartisan groups, nonprofits, or whatever, while this battle is happening, you can't just hope people turn out. The state has to be organized and mobilized.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an all hands on deck approach. And we can't just leave these Democrats out there to dry, almost like the way we treat, like, certain, when elections come, oh, our guy in, see you in 2 years, see you in 4 years. Like, we can't have this mentality, oh, they're just going to hold out to December, it's all going to be fine. Republicans never quit. Every single day they're fighting to move the needle just a little bit. And so if you're going to have all of those districts that don't have representation right now, you've put out the word. You've put out the call for people to get out there. And every time you have people like, Cliff Albright, I mean, there are people like him who have the blueprint for what needs to be done and how it can be done, right? In terms of their organizations. If people don't understand that this has to be step by step, district by district, we're going to lose. Everything is going to be temporary. Things are going to look good for the cameras here and there, but people have to be involved in this fight at every level. When I brought up like George Clooney and others who can help, these guys financially, I was just using that as an example that these celebrities who talked a lot during the last election need to be involved in the game. The youth people that you talked about, the youth that you talk about, with everything that's happening in Texas, from women's rights to the job opportunities to what's going to be happening with this bill, there is no reason for young people to not be engaged in this fight. Everybody's talking about the young guy at James Tellerico, in Texas, who's bringing youth along with him or whatever. If these young people are not going to get immobilized right now, not in the summer of 2026, then this is theirs to lose. This is their future. I mean, it's all of our futures, but it's primarily their future. And so if they're not going to see that through the inaction of the flood, do they want to be the next flood victim when people don't vote for a monitoring system? They have everything to lose in this system. And so if they don't get behind these Democrats as well and start waking up and do some of that work that needs to happen in some of these districts that you just talked about that have no representation, then I'm afraid that these Democrats who left Texas, it's going to be all in vain. And we can't let that happen, Roland.
So let me close this out with this for folks to understand. You heard Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. You heard her say in that news conference, we got to get behind these folks. And what she's saying is they are doing their job. The question now is, what are you going to do? I see your comments in the chat. I see this. Somebody says, Roland, this is SL Watson 35. Roland, there needs to be a leader to help us mobilize our Texas state. You're correct. We have to be a cohesive plan. You already have that. You already have groups who are doing that. But here's the question I will say to SL Watson 35. If you're in Texas, you can be a mobilizing leader. Let me unpack that. And I say this all the time. If you're going to organize Texas, you have to organize Texas counties. In order to organize Texas counties, you got to organize Texas cities. To organize Texas cities, you have to organize Texas neighborhoods. To organize Texas neighborhoods, you have to organize Texas streets. To organize Texas streets, Texas neighborhoods, you got to organize Texas blocks. Texas blocks, Texas streets. Texas streets, Texas houses. Texas houses means one person in the house. So what now then happens? So one person in a house says, we got to organize and mobilize here in Texas. So the person in the house says, I got to organize my neighbors. The neighbors say, we got to organize our street. The street folks say, we got to organize our block. The block people say, we got to organize our neighborhood. All of a sudden, when neighborhoods mobilize, you now organize and mobilize the city. When the cities mobilize, you begin to organize and mobilize the county. When the county and the cities are mobilized, you now begin to organize and mobilize the state. So where do you start? I keep this very basic, and I keep it very clear and very simple, and that is this. Go look at the existing data. You can pull up the data by going to the State Board of Elections, the County Board of Elections, and you can say, how did my precinct vote? Folks, elections are based upon precincts. There are X number of precincts in a state, in a county, in a city. You pull the data and you say, oh, my precinct, which could be a collection of neighborhoods, my precinct has 700 registered voters. That doesn't mean eligible voters to be registered. But let's just say it has 700 registered voters. Well, those 700 of the 700 registered voters in the last congressional campaign, in my precinct, 300 voted. That means it's right there in the data. 400 registered voters in that precinct did not vote in the last congressional, presidential, state, county commissioner, city, school board, DA, whatever election. And so if you're watching us right now or listening, stop trying to worry about a big leader to organize a state. Stop trying to worry about, man, who can do the county? Who can do the city? Who can do the neighborhood? You watching right now should first start with, what's in my concentric circle? Let me first start with my family. Let me first start with in my household. That's my family. Let me then start with my neighbor on the left, neighbor on the right, across the street. You begin to build there. This is how it is done. The reason, and let me be real clear, Republicans, whenever you hear Republicans complain about what's happening in Texas, I'm trying not to cuss because I keep running to people who kept telling me, come on, Roland, you got to stop cussing. But I really want to tell them to F off right now because Republicans have controlled Texas for the last 30 years. Since George W. Bush was elected to a second term, Republicans hold every statewide office in Texas. All of them. They have controlled the House and they control the Senate. It's a fact. So when they complain about what's happening, you can't blame Democrats. They couldn't blame Biden. They control the state. The Texas power grid is trash. You know why? Because Republicans unplugged from the national power grid and said, we're going to create our own. That's why you have folks who died when it got cold all across Texas. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Greg Abbott spent $3 billion building bullshit along the border, even the Republicans were like, this shit ain't working. So they quietly stopped spending. He wasted $3 billion. The problem we have in America is that there are a lot of people who complain, who don't vote. The opposition, they vote. And when you complain and say, well, I'm not voting unless I get tangibles. Fool, you can't get any tangibles unless you vote. It doesn't work the other way around. Now, what it means is when the election is over, then you are putting pressure on that person. I need you to deliver. But then what happens when your person doesn't win? You're still a constituent, and you can make demands of them. This moment that we are looking at right now is a challenge to the people, the silent majority in Texas, who don't vote. I'm going to give you the stat again, and you heard me say it several times. I'm still registered to vote in Texas. So is my brother, so is my two sisters, so my parents, so my numerous, all of my nieces, nephews, all 13 of them, my cousins, my aunts and uncles. I've got 400 or 500 relatives in Texas. Folks, they all registered. But the problem is 61% of Texas is Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American. Yet 61% of the people that vote in Texas are white. Yes, there's voter suppression. Yes, there's gerrymandering. But in the history of Black people, we've had to hop, jump, hurdle, go under, go over every obstacle presented. So if you don't have an ID, we should be working with folks to help get them an ID. We should be re-registering every single year. Oh, they're removing folks like crazy in Florida. Fine. Register to vote every single year. Just fill the card out, turn it in. Y'all ain't screwing me over. The only way we change this by taking our country back and taking our state back is if we use our power at the ballot box. But it cannot happen if we are not organized and mobilized. This shirt I'm wearing, Color of Change, gave me this shirt. It says, voting while Black. If you are complaining while Black and you're not registered, with all due respect, shut the fuck up. Niambi, thanks a lot. What? Y'all cut to the chase. Niambi, Larry, Omekongo, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, there were a lot of stuff we wanted to get to. We obviously did not get to because we were so focused on what's the racist gerrymandering maps in Texas. We're going to be covering more of this tomorrow. We're not letting go of this story. We don't give a shit what MSNBC, CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC is doing. This is personal to us because, when we talk about celebrating Juneteenth, that originated in Texas. When we talk about what's happening in Texas, and I'm telling y'all, if we take Texas, the Republican Party falls apart. They fall apart. And so for me, being a native of this state, being a homeowner in the state, you goddamn right it's personal. Y'all want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar you give goes to support what we are doing because, again, mainstream media is not covering this at all. You heard Omekongo say nobody was covering the Texas news conference. We were covering it live right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. There's nobody in Black-owned media that's doing what we're doing every day as well. And so, listen, September 4th is our 7th anniversary. Our goal is to raise $1 million between now and September 4th. What we do here, this show and Black Star Network, the other shows, cost $195,000 a month. That's real. So your support is critical. To support us, Cash App, Here's the number here's right here. There's a QR code right here. Click the Cash App button to contribute. You can use this QR code for credit cards as well. Of course, you can also support us by sending your check and money orders. Mail it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, of course, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Also, of course, if you want to, get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Also, get our Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered swag. Go to shop.blackstarnetwork.com. You got our shirts, we got all of our stuff. You want to get that as well. Don't forget, support the black-owned businesses that we also support. And go to check them out, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Listen to the audio. Of course, you listen to our podcast through iHeartRadio Network and all the different platforms out there. Actually, we need to change that graphic because we need to show people where all of our podcasts are, all different platforms. So Keenan, let me know about that. If y'all on YouTube, hit the like button right now before y'all sign off. We should easily be at 2,000 likes, but we're at 1,400. So let's get to 600 real quick. So all y'all people on YouTube, hit that button right now. Don't forget also, you've got download the Fanbase app. And if you want to invest in Fanbase, go to startengine.com/Fanbase for more information. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!